Biggest part for me, I think, was my perseverance of constantly, making sure I did the right thing, no matter what the result was. Our fitness there in Pune started at 5:45 a.m. every single day. So, and the rule was if you didn't make the fitness, you couldn't play tennis. And back in 94, 95, 96, there was no mobile phones. And the hostel I was staying didn't have a TV. So if I didn't go for fitness or didn't play tennis, there was really nothing to do there.
Welcome to Inspire Someone Today podcast, a show where we dive into the stories and insights that has the power to create ripples of inspiration in your life. I'm your host Srikanth, and I'm thrilled to be with you on this journey of inspiration. Hey my listeners, welcome back to yet another episode of Inspire Someone Today. Today it's like game, set and chat. I am your host Srikanth and welcoming you for this special episode with a very special guest joining us on this show. He is none other than the Indian tennis star Rohan Bopanna. I started my conversation with Rohan picking on his interest for the game. How did this interest for the game start off? So my humble beginnings in Madikeri is when his family decided to move him to a different place. That's where he landed in Pune. For 7 long years, he was in Pune without tasting any success. Came under the tutelage of Mr. Krishna Bhupathi as part of the Bhupathi Tennis Academy. But his first national win was at the age of 21 at the Nationals. And before that, he had to shoulder a big injury to the extent that that was his career limiting injury. To bounce back from those lows and to be the person that he has to kind of carve out what he has. Do listen in as Rohan shares his journey, the funny incidents, the learnings, and everything else, which is game, set, and chat. Rohan, welcome to the show and thank you so much for taking time and joining us today.
Thank you, Srikanth. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Likewise, Rohan, without much further ado, we'll jump right in. What a tremendous, impressive career that you have had, reaching the pinnacle of success of many tournaments, great contributions for the country across various platforms. I think what was interesting, the point that you made was you started at the age of 14 and you saw your first breakthrough around 21. And during that period, I'm sure you would have had your moments of frustration, anxiety, all of it. And again, if I draw parallels to the corporate world, we want to kind of work on projects and want to see the results maybe an year from now, not beyond that. And in your case, it's a 7 year kind of a project. How did you kind of keep yourself motivated, keep yourself focused to kind of get to that point of, I know that I'm going to make it big. I'm going to have this big breakthrough. And how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, Srikanth, I mean, it's not only 7 years of, thinking that breakthrough might happen, but there's a lot of capital which goes into the thing without any returns, zero returns. You're only investing on month on month off, constantly, not only for your coaching, but also I was staying in a hostel, though that fees, then you're traveling for some tournaments in and around India, then also traveling a few tournaments abroad. So you're constantly spending so much of money so that and there's zero returns, happening. So, that also is, I feel sometimes it makes you anxious. Biggest part for me, I think, was my perseverance of constantly, making sure I did the right thing, no matter what the result was. Our fitness there in Pune started at 5:45 a.m. every single day. So, and the rule was if you didn't make the fitness, you couldn't play tennis. And back in 94, 95, 96, there was no mobile phones. And the hostel I was staying didn't have a TV. So if I didn't go for fitness or didn't play tennis, there was really nothing to do there. So I made sure I woke up every single day, went, did the right thing, whatever the coaches asked me to do. I think so that slowly started helping the belief in myself of, doing the right thing, making that discipline in place and having consistency. I think having consistency is important factor. And Also, while all this were having and going on, my mode of transport was a bicycle. So it was 14, 15 kilometers a day just to go to fitness, come back to the hostel, go to tennis, come back morning, evening. So it was literally, I would say 15 or, could be even more, when I was in Pune. And there were a few days where I didn't want to even get up and go because it was extremely cold, maybe raining. So no matter what, we still had to show up. We had to be there, and because there was so many other stuff, especially in terms of fitness, which you could do, even if it was raining or if it was cold. But it was easy to, find an excuse. But that is where I feel my mental strength and my willpower really, started getting stronger, and the belief started getting better. And even though there were major, major setbacks of losing first rounds every single week, being kind of this journey kid who's going to tournaments, but no really result happening. Back then, it wasn't like my parents they were in Coorg. It wasn't like they could just check the scores online. I had to go to an STD booth, pick up the call and call them. And then time I felt, I was calling them just to say, oh, you know what, I lost my match. I lost my match. I think really, really lot of credit to them that they still encourage me to do what I love, because it's not easy. I mean, like you mentioned, everybody wants quick results. Quick results does not happen at all. It is a process, and I say tennis is something which we can compare in terms of the corporate world, is like starting your own business. When you when you start everything from scratch, you need to figure everything out, and still not knowing. I mean, it could take 5, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 years, before a big breakthrough happens. So doing it every single day, I think was that change, which even till today, I think has stayed with me to constantly make sure I do everything the right way and then get those results.
I must say, hats off to the support system that you had to kind of get you to go up every day and, like you said, to show up, to be consistent. But I'm sure along the way, dragging motivation is not easy, right? You get up, we wake up one more so when you're all by yourself, right? You have 100 reasons why not to do than reasons to do, particularly when things are not happening the way you envisage it's happening. So how did you pull the strings up? How do you kept yourself motivating? And this is just not from age 14 to 21. Even when you are on the tour, there are days where you have done everything, but still you don't get the results that you want to. But come the next day morning, you have to be at the gym, you have to hit the courts all over again. So, as sportsmen, how do you folks get that motivation? What makes you kind of show up the next day despite what happened as results the previous day?
I think, Shrikant, it is the fact that it really is a new day. New change can happen. I mean, especially in tennis, if I can speak, that 1 week can completely change your life. It can completely make that switch. I mean, but you need to make that effort. I mean, yeah, it is definitely not easy, to wake up and go do something where you're struggling at. But I feel it is when you're committed to whatever you do, you need to give it 100%. And then anytime you start having short-term goals, I think it helps you in that journey. Yes, your journey may be to reach right at the top, but to reach the top, you need to have a breakdown of in 3 months, in 6 months, what are my small steps I take in order to achieve that. So that kind of keeps you motivated in terms of the journey. And then slowly, I think it helps you grow in a very big way. So I started looking at it. Okay, next tournament I go, I need to try and qualify to the main draw at least. Maybe win a couple of matches, not lose a match 6-love or 6-1. Try and get a few games. So that slowly started, changing the mindset into try and winning, get that winning formula there. Not only, try to say, okay, go there, I lost and everything. I wanted to pick up that phone call and say, I have qualified today. This thing happened. Those small process which you have, moments you have, which takes you that journey, it does eventually start getting better. And then the motivation factor of suddenly waking up and saying, yes, you know what, last tournament I qualified. So now I can, do more and I can push more. And that is what really helps you to, wake up and keep telling yourself to get better there.
And on the emotional part, Rohan, I'm sure you have done everything that is possible on a match day, but sometimes the result doesn't happen the way it would. How do you draw the results of emotion? Is it some kind of a practice, or is it like you said, it's a fresh day, fresh start. So whatever happened yesterday is yesterday. So how do you kind of manage the emotional side of it?
I think Shrikant, what worked for me is communicating about what happened that day, instead of just keeping it within. Whether it is, if you don't have somebody to communicate, to write it down, to write down what kind of things could have gotten better, what you didn't do better, so that kind of helps you, release what you're thinking or your mind. And then when you come out next day, it's easier to focus on that journey, on what needs to be worked on. When we keep it everything in, and slowly it starts building up, and one day it's just going to erupt, one day it's just going to come out. So I think when we note down things or talk it out to whoever it is, doesn't matter whether if it's a worse day, you still somehow speak it out or write it down, or take your phone today and just start talking and just say whatever you feel like. It kind of helps in a lot to coming out fresher the next day.
Interesting. And in a fraternity where everybody is competing against each other, do you get lot of support from the fraternity where people share best practices, share tips on how you can get better?
No, absolutely. I think communicating again helps that. But yes, you want to get better, you want to compete with everyone, but the end of the day, you are your biggest supporter yourself. You are fighting back yourself. So I think we need to figure out how we are getting better ourselves, and then not to worry about who's doing something else. I mean, for someone, for example, if my peers are running 5 kilometers, I'm not going to tell myself I'm going to do 5 kilometers as well of running just because he's doing it. I do things what will improve my game, my conditioning, and how I feel is the right thing to do. Maybe 5 kilometers won't work for me. If my body is built differently, something else may work, because tennis is a game where you're battling yourself so much before you're battling your opponent. When we start focusing on ourselves, everything around you gets better. Even now when I'm playing doubles, when I'm playing, it's easy to blame tomorrow, say, my partner missed that volley. He could have easily, hit that return better. We could have won the match. So now I've started telling myself, oh, he missed that volley because my serve was not good enough, right? So then it starts to build your inner mindset in order to change the perspective when you go into, whatever it may be, whichever competition it may be, or whichever race you're on at.
I think that's a wonderful outlook to have. You touched upon doubles. I'll quickly come to that. Before that, who was your early childhood inspiration? What made you to kind of pick up the game? Who inspired you to pick up the game?
Back then when I was just starting out in the age 10, 11, and I was starting off in Coorg, only kind of Wimbledon was shown, at in the country, or maybe the one we
On
subscribed at
Doordarshan.
home on Doordarshan, so that was the one which was coming. And I still remember back then in Coorg, whenever Wimbledon came, my dad would send me up to the terrace, and the antenna was there, and he would make hold and change directions, and try to get the right signal, and he would shout from right below, and I would go up trying to find the right angle so we could watch tennis. And back then, Stefan Edberg is somebody I watched a lot. I mean, during those Wimbledon days, I just felt the way he especially from the way he served, the arch he had in his back, the serve and volley, the grace. He conducted himself off the court in his interviews as well. I thought it was tremendous. I mean, I used to watch tennis, but anytime Edberg was there, I could sit through hours to watch the entire match. So he was someone I think I really looked up to. As over the years, I even got to meet him. It was incredible, getting to meet him. I never dreamt that he will one day watch my match, and this happened in the Indian Wells in the Masters in California. He at that time was coaching Roger Federer, and then I was playing doubles with Aisamullah Qureshi, and we were playing against Roger Federer and Stanislas Wawrinka in Indian Wells. And being Roger Federer's coach, you have to be sitting in the box watching his matches, and so I never dreamt. First, I'll meet Stefan Edberg. Secondly, that he'll be watching the entire match. So so it was an incredible feeling, and even after I met him, I think it just enhanced, the love I've had, watching him play and as a person he was.
Oh, that must be a surreal moment, a fanboy moment where you idolize somebody and that idol has watched your game.
Yeah, I mean, it was more than a fanboy moment. I tell you that. Roger Federer and another Grand Slam champion, Stanis Wawrinka. Already, it is so much of pressure. And then, secondly, you have your idol sitting there and watching the match. So it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, never easy. Yeah.
And does it get better than this to have the likes of Roger Federer and Stefan Edberg out there? And does it overwhelm? I'm sure it's an understatement to say that you're not overwhelmed. But how do you kind of stay grounded and then focus on the game when you have those kind of moments?
I think what made it easier is when I hit that first tennis ball. Then everything became like normal, familiar territory. When you're walking and you're looking at this and everything, your mind is, gets nervous and everything. And suddenly, when I started hitting the tennis ball, I was prepared for what I come there to do. I mean, this is what I've been doing for years. Like I said, it's a familiar territory. So then everything calmed down much easier. I think being prepared for anything is very, very important aspect.
Hmm. And you did mention about Edberg being such a wonderful ambassador of the game, and you are nothing short of that, Rohan. I think the way you have kind of carried the game, the way you have kind of carried yourself, the country. I want to kind of bring in a recent anecdote for our listeners to kind of know about. This is, I might be getting my games wrong, but I will let you to kind of talk about it. I think this was the Wimbledon game where you were closer to match point or match point. The ball brushed your shoulder. Nobody noticed it, but there was Rohan Bopanna who noticed it, went to the umpire to say that this brushed my shoulder, this is the point for the opponents, and just walk us through that moment. For me, that was a moment of great pride that somebody could demonstrate that at your level as a sports person, we don't just enjoy the game, but these are some of the subtleties of the game. This is about sportsmanship. This is about honesty. This was about ethics. I think you demonstrated all of it by being that wonderful ambassador of the game. Just walk us through that particular moment and what made you to kind of do what you did. And hats off for what you did.
US Open final this year, and the minute the ball hit my forearm, I kind of called it upon myself, and I know even my partner who was few meters away from me didn't even realize it had happened. I mean, of
Nobody
course, the
realized
opponent,
it. Nobody knew
yeah,
about
no,
it.
would have realized this because it was very, very faint, but I knew it had happened. I knew it had touched my arm, and um, I felt at that point of time it was the right thing to do. I think I was brought up that way to do the right thing and always own up to your mistakes, or be that kind of a person. And I thank my parents for bringing me up that way. And I think that's why I did not hesitate at all when I raised up my arm to mention that the ball had brushed my arm. And even the referee was, I think, very confused at that. But I don't think it could have been any other way from my end, at least. That is how it's me as a person. I say things as it is, and no matter whether it's good or bad, it sometimes works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't work in your favor when you be too honest and say openly certain things. But that is how I've always been from day one, I think.
Yeah, wonderful. I think for a lot of the kids who are following the game, if they had to pick up elements of it, this is one such element. It's just not about going out there and winning, but it is also holding that standards, holding those principles of honesty and sportsmanship. So thank you for demonstrating that. Thank you for sharing that.
And after all, it's just circuit. It is called the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award. So when you have a role model like that, I think it also adds to the things what you're doing on the court as well.
So true. So Rohan, you mentioned about your successful doubles career, and it has been one, and you have been the oldest ranked player in the circuit as we speak. And talking about doubles, I would want to kind of touch upon How do you go about building these successful partnerships? What do you see in your doubles partner? How do you make this combination work? Just walk us through what's going on in your mind when you go through this journey of playing doubles, nurturing that partnership, building relationships, and going out and winning.
Shrikant, it's actually very, very simple. I just put all the names in a hat, close my eyes, and I just pick up out a name, and then it's right there. No, but the fantastic, question you asked me there. It's always a challenge. It's never easy to, because you don't know who can be the right partner out there for you. But having said that, sometimes the players. Most of the players, either you have practiced with them or you have played a match against them. So you kind of know their game styles and what their strengths are. So. You kind of narrow it down to maybe 4 or 5 players who could maybe be a good potential partner for yourself. And I think then I sit down with my coach, we discuss the pros and cons. And for me, somebody really works well, who's got good coverage of speed and agility on the court, and somebody who's very consistency on the return. So it kind of helps me play my aggressive style of game. I can use my 6'3" frame to be a real presence at the net. And these are some small factors. I do look into some partners when I try and play with them. Of course, there are times where it has not really worked out. Not only just getting their game styles, but I think your camaraderie also should be great with that person. So because especially with close moments, sometimes when you're going through tough period in your journey, when you're losing a few matches, to come together and break through, you need somebody you can communicate with. And that, again, the communication is a very, very important factor. I think if you try it, especially in doubles, when you want it, it's like a relationship. The healthier it gets when you communicate, and that's how the partnership gets stronger. No matter in which aspect in life, I think it does make a difference. Even in a corporate world, when you're trying to build something, when you communicate with your team, I think you can come up with a better strategy and come up with it successfully. And this is something which not only when you're looking for a partner, which is an important factor, to also get along with that person off the court, because I'm spending so much of time with that person off the tennis court as well, because you have a lot of waiting period sometimes in between matches, or and you're traveling together. And tennis being a lonely tour, initially, you can't really afford to travel with a coach or a physio or family member. It is expensive, because at the end of the day in tennis, we pay for all our travel, stay, coaches, physios, everything ourselves. So it's not like the federation or there's corporates really helping out. So so it is difficult. So that time, obviously, you have this one person, who you get along with, and this journey sometimes happens, and you build partnership, and hence sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But the friendships definitely remain, because the camaraderie has been built.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think you wouldn't be otherwise if you had that partner of yours where everything that you mentioned about the communication, the camaraderie, the time that you need to spend. And I'm sure there will also be moments of disagreements, conflicts. So how have you managed what is your take on conflict management? What is your arsenal to kind of manage these relationships better, because you're one of the most successful players on the double circuit as well. So how did you go about managing relationships, managing the conflicts in this journey?
I think is to literally do it one on one. Whoever you're having conflict, it is go and talk it out. I'm not saying go there and shout and scream or abuse or whatever. Be true, matured people who go and bring out the pros and cons of what's happening. Speak it out. Then instead of going and speaking to 15 other people about what is happening, it's easier to just communicate directly to that person and sort it out. It probably sometimes takes just a couple of minutes or maybe 5 minutes, and the entire solution gets fixed. And that is something which has really, really helped, is to just speak as in whatever the right way it is to do.
So Rohan, just like in life, corporate and sports, one thing that is constant is continuous learning, continuous evolvement. And in sports, that is something that we can see day in, day out. You have the opportunities to kind of play on different surfaces. You have to kind of change the methods depending on the opponents that you get. Help me and my business to kind of get a sneak preview of how do you prepare, how do you kind of focus on this continuous evolution as a sports person.
Yeah, Shrikant, I mean, the right thing you said there was you always are learning. You're always trying to find situations to adapt. I mean, there was a situation which I had to really change the way I was playing tennis from being a serve and volley tennis player to serving and then staying back and not really serving and volleying. One of the main reasons being is because currently I have no cartilages on my knees. It's fully worn out for the years of wear and tear, and hence when I was serving and volleying a lot, I had tremendous pain in the knee. Every time I bent down for that volley, and after a few matches, it used to be a lot of pain. So then I started to sit with my coach and started changing the completely in terms of the way I play doubles, and started working on my ground strokes and making that stronger to be able to still compete at the highest level, still win tournaments at the highest level, because suddenly you're bringing something new style into your game, and it was not easy. And what really helped is doing a lot of practices on that, trying to get better at it. And today I really feel that is one of my strengths, which has been able to adapt with the court changes, also being from fast courts to now being much slower courts, in able to stay consistently, whether who's playing there, whether it's a doubles player playing against a singles player who's playing doubles. So that is something which I think we really extensively worked on the practice court. Apart from when I was playing with a partner, he would take me separately, onto the practice court and constantly feed balls and put me in situations where I was not comfortable in. There were many times where probably I got frustrated and I didn't want to do it. So then he would just make me sit down for 5 minutes, have a sip of water, and then he'll be like, you know what, let's hit another 5 balls. He would not say, okay, let's go for another half an hour. He'd slowly, bring me back to that situation. And then eventually when I see even like 1 or 2 successes of hitting the right shot where we wanted to practice, he was somebody who appreciated what I did. And I think that was also an important, aspect in terms of appreciating, what, someone is doing, and telling them, no matter how small it can be, it's still, that communication which was key. And I was able to adapt and change, and learning in that surface. And especially when we play on the clay court surface, Roland Garros and all the other clay court tournaments, that kind of red clay we don't have anywhere in India. And, it was never my strength to play in that surface. And today, playing in it, I really feel for the last 8 years now, it has become my strength. And I started winning many tournaments on the clay court. And, this is because I changed my game style and adapted to the situation. And hence, it's become an extremely strong surface, in my tennis career.
And that's a great example also of how you can convert some of your challenges into strengths and then overcome those to become winners. You are a case in point in demonstrating that.
Yeah, no, I think it took a lot of effort, but then you need to have belief in somebody who's also teaching you that. If you start doubting them right from the beginning, it'll never work. You need to have a broader mindset and really adapt and understand that somebody there is genuinely trying to, help you in that journey.
Rohan, we have been talking about your journey, your learnings, some of those stupendous achievements. We slip into a segment in this conversation called as the power of 3 round. This is more like a rapid fire round. Now we are in the rapid fire round, the power of 3. The first of the power of 3, Rohan, 3 best games or moments that has etched in your memory.
2017, the Grand Slam victory, mixed doubles with Gabriela Dabrowski at Roland Garros. 2010, winning that 5th singles rubber against Brazil in the Davis Cup tie in Chennai. And the third one, even though it was not a victory, it was toughest moment in my journey was losing that bronze medal match at the Rio Olympics in 2016 with Sania Mirza.
I must say, I have witnessed two out of the three there.
Okay.
The Chennai one and the Rio match.
You watched both of them. Okay. Fantastic.
So, three favorite tournaments or venue that you would always love to be there?
Australian Open, always love the way it is conducted and the way they treat players. The US Open, more so because it's held in New York. It's my favorite city in the world. And I love the Masters in Shanghai. Shanghai has been, one of my fun cities to go to. I've had great success there. So, yeah, Shanghai for sure.
Wonderful. Rohan, if you were to give three word of advice to your older self, what would those three advice be for your older self?
Find the academy which had everything and I didn't have to travel 15 kilometers a day.
Cycling.
Yeah, cycling. Have a base in Europe because 90% of our tournaments are based in Europe. So I would love to have a base in Europe and found a sponsor because that always made it much more difficult. Anytime you traveled, you have to think 5 times before going to a tournament.
Interesting. Rohan, you have been on this journey for a while now. I'm sure you have had your moments of inspiration from different sources. You can name anything. The question I have for you is any three book or podcast recommendations. But if you have something else outside of that, you're more than happy to kind of share that as well.
I think the one book I really enjoyed and which was I loved, reading about everything they were talking about was the Zoltan Ibrahimovic, his book, where he just openly speaks his mind out. And, even Andre Agassi's open book, where, they just speak their mind. They say the truth about what is happening and how their journey went, the struggles they've had. These two books are, something which I really connected with in some way. And I felt that as a sportsman, what they go through builds a lot of character and, really showcases all the outside part we don't know about apart from, the tennis world.
Yes, I think Agassi's Open is an all-time favorite. Listeners, if you have not put your hand onto that, you should definitely pick that up. Continuing on, Rohan, if there are three guest recommendations from you to be featured on this podcast, who would those three guests be?
I would definitely recommend Srikanth, sportsmen who are not really in that limelight and who undergo, their tough journeys, not only growing up, but also, sports which, yourself, you could be as good as possible, but sometimes the federations, don't let you come through that journey. So I really feel, sports which are slowly starting to get recognized. I think there are a lot of athletes there in their journey, swimmers, I really feel who, can be part of these podcasts, who can make a really big difference on what they go through, on these challenges they go through. Would love to, listen to those guys next time in case you happen to have them on your show.
Absolutely. We look out for them and definitely make it a point to have them on the show.
It'll be wonderful to have some chess grandmasters really speak about, how that kind of journey as well started.
I would love to have Praga on the show sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Now a sister as well, right?
Yes. Rohan, the last of the power of three round. I think what sportsmen do on a day in, day out basis is the pursuit of excellence. If there are three micro experiments or three routines that Rohan advises to all the listeners, shares tips as what are the three micro experiments one can do in the pursuit of excellence?
I think number one is stretching every day. I think, just waking up, doing a 15-20 minutes of a good stretch kind of really opens out every part of your body. For recovery, I would definitely recommend ice baths. I think it's been incredible. Yes, it can be tough to do the ice baths, but it is something if you can get used to it, it really tremendously helps, recovery. And I love for people to go and take advice from a proper physio, not just somebody who's going to give you ultrasound and everything, somebody who can work genuinely with their fingers I think who can make a healthier lifestyle. And I think this is important. We go through all the devices we wear and we get all the inputs from everything, around on what's going on with the body, but on how to get better and improving it and staying consistent. I think these are the three things I would definitely recommend.
Wonderful. Rohan, thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said at the beginning, we are at the beginning of the new year where everybody is on the path of setting goals, achieving and accomplishing goals. And who better than you to kind of talk to us about goal setting, talk to us about learning from, I wouldn't say failures, but learning from setbacks. If our listeners were to kind of hear it out from you, the importance of goal setting and how do you and what can we do to learn from setbacks?
No, I think it's extremely important to have goal settings. I think it really keeps you motivated in a big way to, follow that. Yes, there are many times which setbacks happen, but doesn't mean that you just cut off from everything. For example, back in 2021, I went 5 months of the year of not winning a match. So I mean, it was a major setback. Obviously, I was 41 years old. I'm thinking now, okay, this could be end of my career. Maybe I'm not able to compete at this highest level. It was a very tough setback. I remember sitting in Portugal, across the ocean, just overlooking the ocean, and telling myself, I'm doing every single thing. I'm there, waking up, practicing, playing matches, but I'm just not able to win matches. But just speaking to myself, talking about it, kind of automatically made me understand where I am and brought me back to reality. I felt that, brought me back to down to earth to say that, let's keep pushing it. You still have a good 5 months to go. Let's not stop right here. Let's see how that journey goes. And yeah, it worked out amazingly well after that. I started winning the second week after that. I started winning matches, got back to in the rhythm of winning matches to now in 2023, 2 years later, having my best year in my career. So it doesn't take, that long in terms of trying to find a way, but just being able to tell myself what the reality was and what the setbacks I was going through kind of really helped me come back to what I was trying to achieve and where I wanted to be at.
So that honest assessment and positive self-talk is going to be the key.
Yes, absolutely, Shrikant. I think it is very important to speak to yourself about it and, understand where you are in your junction, Kariva, what is the reality. That's when it really helps you move forward. Otherwise, we're always living in this bubble that we think, oh, we have done this, but technically we have not. I mean, it is just about breaking that and just, sitting yourself down, looking yourself in the mirror and just telling, where exactly you are in that journey.
In that way, would that also address the self-doubts that is there in your mind to say that okay, this is not doable? Like you mentioned, 5 months you went winless, and then that honest assessment did help you, did propel you to kind of achieve what you have been able to do from there on. So, how much of self-doubt comes in the way, and what practices do you encourage people to look into to overcome those self-doubts?
I think a lot of self doubts happen, and then a lot of people you're talking to also kind of gets you in that going in that mood by saying, "Oh, I have you planned anything, something after your career? What are you going to do?" So you automatically, hit that frame of mind where you're thinking, "Oh, this is, probably that journey," or indirectly maybe you have also mentioned it, sitting around saying that, "Oh, I'm not winning matches. I think it's time to stop." In just passing, so which indirectly somewhere starts affecting you as well, especially when you have been doing something for 20 years and been in that journey and suddenly overnight you're not winning matches, not getting any, support out of it. It does, have a major self-doubt. But then I think what really changed was genuinely speaking about it to myself. And I think that made a huge shift and a huge positive change from being where I am to, moving forward.
Great. Rohan, we would love to continue this conversation. There is so much more to kind of hear from you, know about your journeys, know about some of those nice anecdotes. But I am afraid we are coming at the close of this conversation. This show is all about creating ripples of inspiration. Before we sign off, Rohan, what's your Inspire Someone Today message to all the listeners?
My biggest thing is to trust your instincts.
That's a wonderful message out there. Trust your instincts. Couldn't have gotten any better than this, Rohan. Once again, thank you so much for being such a wonderful ambassador of the game. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inspire Someone Today. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off. Until next time, continue to carry the ripples of inspiration. Stay inspired, keep spreading the light.